Let's go, Eagles Nation! We're just days away from our highly anticipated preseason matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals on August 7th, and my green and white heart is already racing. I know the regular season is still a little ways off, but the countdown is on, and so is our preparation. Behind the scenes, the Philadelphia Eagles are making key moves, fine-tuning strategies, and there's a lot of buzz circulating in the locker room. Trust me, there's a lot about to unfold, and you deserve to be in the loop. Before I dive into all the updates I've gathered, here's the classic request. Smash that like button, only if you've been an Eagles fan for over 19 years. And if you're one of those legendary fans who witnessed the games back in the 70s, much respect. Our history is built on generations of warriors. If you can, drop this in the comments. Go Birds, my heart bleeds green and white. Let's fly even higher. Now, let's kick things off with the headline that's shaking things up in Philly. Veteran defensive end Ogbania Okaranquo has officially signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, and this move comes at a critical time for a defensive front that enters training camp with more questions than answers. After reporting to the NovaCare complex on July 22nd, the Eagles wasted no time and added Okaranquo on the very first day, signaling a clear priority: inject experience and pressure into a unit that saw serious turnover this offseason. Let's get this out of the way first. This isn't just another depth move. While Okaranquo may not carry the star power of a TJ Watt or Myles Garrett, the Eagles aren't trying to build around big-ticket names. They're building a rotation, a system of pass rushers who can contribute situationally, stay fresh, and create consistent pressure over 4 quarters. And in that system, Okaranquo has a very real shot to make the 53-man roster. A 5th-round pick in 2018 out of Oklahoma, Okaranquo, or Obisabu, as he jokingly refers to himself, brings with him a resume that includes stints with the Rams, Texans, and Browns. The most productive stretch of his career came in Houston under DeMeco Ryans, where he started 8 games and notched 5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and 11 QB hits in 2022. That season showed what he could do with a legitimate opportunity. He followed it up with solid production in Cleveland, logging 4.5 sacks in 2023 and 3 more in 2024 while being used primarily as a situational pass rusher. It's also worth noting that over the past 2 seasons with the Browns, he played under Jim Schwartz, the same Schwartz who coordinated the Eagles' Super Bowl winning defense in 2017. That's not a small connection. Schwartz's defenses are aggressive and demanding, and Okaranquo not only earned snaps but delivered results. While his Pro Football Focus grades in 2024 weren't flattering, 45.3 overall with a 55.3 pass rush grade, numbers can't always paint the full picture. In just 275
pass rush snaps last year, he produced 24 pressures, 17 hurries, 14 stops, and 3 sacks. Remember, PFF doesn't credit half sacks. That's real disruption. Physically, he's not the prototype most coaches drool over. At 6 feet 2 inches, 250 pounds, he's not a bend-and-dip pass rusher in the mold of Nolan Smith. He wins with power, effort, and instincts. What he lacks in elite athletic traits, he makes up for with awareness and technique. He is good get-off at the snap, uses hesitation moves effectively, and bullies offensive tackles when given the chance. He's shown he can change pace mid-rush and plays with excellent leg drive. This isn't just about production, it's also about scheme. Vic Fangio's defense, now in place in Philly, adds another wrinkle. Unlike Schwartz and Ryans, who favored the wide 9 alignment, Fangio mixes looks from traditional 3 to 4 to 4 down fronts. Okaranquo has experience in both 3 to 4 and 4 to 3 schemes, and that versatility could be key in determining his fit here. He's not a stranger to occasionally dropping in coverage either, though that's not his strength. The question is whether he can thrive in a hybrid system where edge players are asked to do more than just pin their ears back and rush. The Eagles are clearly hoping that a combination of veterans like Okaranquo and upside plays like Nolan Smith, Jalen Hurts, and rookie Antoine Powell-Ryland can give them enough juice off the edge. That's a gamble, no question about it. They could have pursued a splash move, a superstar with a $40 million price tag. Instead, they chose depth and diversity. Let's talk about those other options real quick. Brandon Graham is gone, hanging up his cleats after a legendary Eagles career. Josh Sweat chased the bag and landed in Arizona. Milton Williams, meanwhile, got $26 million per year from the Patriots. With those departures, the Eagles had no choice but to reload. And came Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche, 2 guys with talent but serious question marks. Ojulari has struggled to stay healthy. Uche hasn't looked like the impact player some hoped he would be. Then there's Nolan Smith, who jumped from 1 sack as a rookie to 6.5 in year 2. He's tracking to break out, maybe even to the tune of a George Karlaftis type extension in the $24 to $25 million range after this season. But he's not there yet. Jalen Hurts flashed late last season and looked even better in the playoffs. But was that just a hot streak or a sign of things to come? And so here we are, relying on a collective rather than a crown jewel. The Eagles are betting that between the young guns and the mid-tier vets, they can cobble together enough heat to make life miserable for opposing quarterbacks. It's not flashy, but it might work, especially when you remember that the interior of this defensive line is loaded. They're counting on guys in the middle to muddy the pocket and collapse the quarterback's vision lanes, setting the stage for edge pressure to hit home. Now it's your turn. What do you think of the Ogbania Okaranquo signing? Does he make the final 53-man roster, or is this just a camp body? Let me know down in the comments. Let's continue right where we left off, because the real question now isn't just about whether Ogbania Okaranquo will make the 53-man roster. It's whether he can carve out a real role on a team that is simultaneously reloading and contending. The Eagles are walking that tightrope this year, and that's what makes this signing fascinating. When you take a step back and examine what Howie Roseman and the front office have done at edge rusher this offseason, it's clear they're playing the long game. Instead of investing heavily in one dominant pass rusher, they've opted for a group of players with specific traits, each one capable of attacking quarterbacks in different ways. That gives Vic Fangio a lot of flexibility. Okaranquo may not be the flashiest piece in the puzzle, but he's the kind of utility player that winning teams need. He's been through it. He's seen multiple systems. He's battled through years without starts, clawed his way into meaningful roles, and finally emerged as a dependable rotational player. That's not something to ignore. There's real value in having someone who understands how to maximize limited snaps, especially when your young players are still figuring out who they are. Take Nolan Smith, for example. The Eagles are clearly banking on him. They need him to keep ascending, but they also can't afford to burn him out. That's where Okaranquo becomes so important. If he can give you 15 to 20 quality snaps per game, where he plays fast, stays fresh, and creates just enough chaos to force a hurried throw or flush the quarterback from the pocket, then that's a win. That's what this team needs, consistent disruption, not necessarily highlight reel sacks. And don't overlook the leadership angle either. Okaranquo, now heading into his age 29 season, has been in the league long enough to bring a certain professionalism to the room. He shared a locker room with Aaron Donald and Von Miller in Los Angeles, was part of a Super Bowl winning team, and he's learned under defensive coordinators like Jim Schwartz and D'Amico Ryans. That's a resume that carries weight, even if it doesn't light up a stat sheet. For a room with young talent still trying to find its footing, that mentorship could be invaluable. Of course, none of this means a roster spot is guaranteed. He'll still have to beat out other fringe players. Antoine Powell-Ryland, a sixth-rounder out of Virginia Tech, brings a ton of college production and energy to the table. Josh Uche may have underperformed, but he's still hanging around. And if someone like Jalen Hurts continues to flash, especially with his raw physical traits, it's going to make the final decisions at defensive end one of the toughest battles of this year's training camp. Let's not ignore the scheme fit either.